Hello again, YouTube, and what can you see that's different in this setup apart from the battery full light flashing? It's AMI is attached. This is AMI version 2 that I've been working on. Now there has been a few changes. So obviously you've got my 3.3 volt regulator up there to stop the Pi blowing up. I've removed the NeoPixel because that also kept causing me issues. Filter cap added across one of the voltage sense resistors. And because that NeoPixel's gone, I've added in 3 separate discrete LEDs. So there will have to be a revision change of the board where that all gets added in, but this is a prototype, so that's fine. So I've got the power coming in here, again into the junction box, and then the outputs I've got, because these is a two-sided relay, latching relay. One side goes here to this 5-volt regulator. The other side goes straight from the battery to the other stuff. So basically on the side of the shed we've got these 2 switches, 28 volts and 5, and they're just in line with the switches. So this board can now switch off both supplies to the shed, and I've got everything running on there. So I've got my aircraft trackers, the big old array on the wall here, security cameras, Wi-Fi, and another aircraft tracker. So lots of things running all the time in the shed. So the idea now is, if there's no sun, this will trip, protect the batteries from getting too flat that the BMS kicks in, because it's a pain to set the BMS. And yeah, hopefully that'll be it. So now obviously I need to test this, and to test this, because this is obviously designed for in winter when there's no sun, so that the battery will get low and it will protect the system. In the summer it's not a problem at all. And the idea is, to test it, I'm going to just disconnect the solar panel input. As you can see, it's fully charged right now, and by disconnecting the input we can also measure how much capacity we can draw from the battery, or at least how long this will remain in idle for. So we need to check the battery and the current. So full flashing light, and we're getting 26.4 volts. Just trying to move the camera so there's no glare on the screen. And that's the solar input disconnected. So what we've got to do now is measure the current being drawn from the battery whilst it's in idle mode, I guess. So with just everything base load running, that's 1.5 amps. So 1.5 amps, we've got 110 amp hours. That's going to be something. That's going to be 74 hours or 3 days, and I haven't just looked that up or done the calculations. All in my head, obviously. So what I'm going to do is leave this system to run on its own with no solar input for 3 days, hopefully. And hopefully this will trip before the BMS does. So we've got voltage lights in this, so we've got a green light for good, orange for medium, red for bad, and then the lights go off and it trips. So we'll see what that does now. See you in a few days' time. Day 2, 26.5 volts. I think we need a bigger load. This is going to take ages. So, air conditioning is on. We are pulling 350 watts. 360 watts. That should drain the battery a bit. AMI version 2 has changed colour to red. Green is sort of flickering. So it's working. The air conditioning, as you probably hear, is still running, and it's lovely and cold in this room. And the battery voltage is around about 24.7. Well, it's not around about 24.7, it is 24.7. So that is what AMI turns red at. And unfortunately I missed it because I was not here at the time. But AMI has tripped, so the lights are turned off. There is power, there is 20 odd volts sitting there, 24 volts, but AMI's turned off. So all the lights are turned off, and we've got a red light on here. The inverter I've switched off as well, so it's not drawing any power, but all the lights are on. So what will happen now is, because this is in series with all the low current stuff, basically anything that's not the inverter, that will remain in this state until the battery starts to charge up, and when it gets to a reasonable charge it will turn back on and everything will turn back on again, so it's all protected. So what I'll do now is reconnect the solar panel, and that can charge up, and then tomorrow it'll all connect. So it works, hopefully. And again the next day, and a day of sun, and we're back up to 26 volts, nearly 27 volts. We're green on there and charging. We've actually had quite a good day today. So if we look here, we're currently drawing where we drawn 8 amps peak, 238 watts peak from our 250 watt panel, and we've drawn 791 watt hours so far. So nearly 800 watt hours gone into that battery in one day. And Amy has turned green, the relay's clicked, and all of the loads are back on in the shed, and that didn't trip the BMS, so it all seems to be working. So that's a brief test of Amy, and it all seems to work. So I hope you enjoyed that, and for now I shall see you later. Bye.